I can say good morning. Good morning. And I can also announce what day is today? The 9th. So 21 minus 9, 12 more days till the solstice. And the days start getting longer. Always a cause for celebration for me today. We're going to have a good meeting today because we're going to talk about our foundation, our old foundation that does so much good for this community. The thing about the foundation is it's my opportunity for me to change the world, and it's yours too. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. In the meantime, Butch Kruger, would you come to the podium and make the reflection? And Troy Hendricks, would you lead us in the pledge?
We'll pray today as opposed to reflecting. And so will you bow with me? Lord, as we look to you this morning, help us to count our blessings from you, even as we consider the many people we have helped, both near and far, through the Rotary Foundation. Continue to help us as we help others under the banner of Rotary. Bless also this food to our bodies' use. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we start the meeting today, we want to honor Clint Mock. And to do that, Chuck Mann, would you come to the podium?
No, I'm doing a eulogy for Clint, so you got to know the first two words out of my mouth are going to be good morning. Clinton A. Mock passed from this life on October 16th. If you didn't see it, I would encourage you to type Clint Mock into your favorite search engine and read his obituary. It's an impressive yet concise inventory of Clint's roots, his labors, and his loving family. Accepting the assignment of presenting a eulogy for Clint Mock was at once a very easy and a very difficult decision. Why easy? Because in a few minutes, you'll watch another speaker tell about Clint's history with this club, his dedication to the financial health of this foundation, his belief in getting involved, and his involvement in this book, the single most successful fundraiser that this club has ever produced. And you'll hear these stories from the self-proclaimed club curmudgeon, the club historian, the foundation trustee, active past president, and honorary member. Yes, you'll get the right stuff right from Clint himself. Easy. Thanks, CM. Why difficult? I became friends with Clint and Pat long before I joined Rotary, as they were customers when Man Painting worked at their home on East Boundary in Perrysburg. Over the years, I remember Clint showing off his organic garden, the birch trees that he brought home from up north, and the flies that he had tied to further his passion for fishing. In early 2007, I had an issue with the heart valve. My wife and I were faced with making quick and very important decisions. When Clint caught wind of this, he and Pat met with us to tell us all about his valve surgery, the facility where he had been treated, and his recovery regimen. I will be ever grateful for his advice and for being there for us. At his memorial service, there were multiple stories about Clint's kindness and dedication to his friends. I went to visit him about a week before he passed on. We talked about, he talked, I mostly listened, about his love of Rotary, the success of his book, and its financial impact on the foundation, and his book signing tours. We also talked about how proud he was of his family. By the time we said goodbye, I had concluded that Clint seemed satisfied with his life and was prepared for his next adventure. Clint was a good friend, and I miss him often. Let me wrap up. I've watched the video clip that you're going to see towards the end of the meeting many times. My favorite part in Clint's remarks happens when he believes he's getting the hook from someone off camera. His reaction is, "Are you trying to get rid of me? I'm not done yet." Well, fellow Rotarians, maybe our friend Clint Mock is not done yet. I would suggest that you embrace the message being presented here today as a way to honor his legendary service to this club and this foundation. Consider donating in his memory. Maybe buy a book or two, they are in limited supply. And think about getting involved or more involved in this club that he and we love so much.
You know, he was a curmudgeon. And what an amazing laugh he had. He certainly helped me in my Rotary journey, and he's missed. Today's sponsor is Hartman and Associates. Thank you to Hartman. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today? You know, it truly is their loss. You know, they're just not going to know how good a club this is. We do have some visitors today. Is there anybody coming to the floor mic to introduce visiting Rotarians? I know John Irwin's got one.
Hello, President Tim. My name is Mike, and I'm here with Erin McPartland today from Maumee Valley Habitat for Humanity. She's our development director. She'd like to meet every one of you at some point.
Good.
Thank you.
Have we talked to Erin about joining this club?
The conversation is ensuing.
All right, you're my hero today.
President Tim and fellow Rotarians, it's my honor to also introduce Erin Curley. She's a local architect and the principal at Engage Studios Architects and a prospective Rotary member.
Erin, welcome. I hope you enjoy the meeting today.
President Tim and fellow Rotarians, I have the pleasure of introducing Reem Soubey. She's a former colleague of mine, an attorney at Able, and she is running for state senate.
Reeve, welcome. Hope you enjoy the meeting. Andrea, are you still a member of this club? Do we still let you in here?
You do still let me in here, although I've let my membership lapse. Wait for me to come back in a year.
Okay, I'm counting the days.
President Tim, fellow Rotarians, my guest is Christopher Holinsky, who's the Director of Advancement at Maumee Valley Country Day School, whose membership is needed on this board. Please make sure you hit him up on the way out. Do you have any questions?
No, not right now, but welcome, Christopher.
President Tim and fellow Rotarians, I'm pleased to have as a guest today Brad Smith, a colleague who's a compensation consultant with our firm and a prospective Rotarian.
Brad Smith, nice to meet you. Hey, Brad, before you sit down, how'd you like the Christmas party?
It was good.
Okay,
It was good.
we're glad you were there. We have an additional guest today. Jenny Barlow, where are you? Jenny Barlow, and you brought another guest, and is it he or a she? And his name is General. Did everybody get a chance to see General? Would you mind walking him around the room, if you would? The nice thing about General is he'll probably clean up around the tables for us. The other thing that's nice about him is just to know this is where our money goes to. We'll hear more about General later, I'm sure. Welcome, Jenny and General. If you don't know, I like dogs, so just. We had, as you just heard, a holiday party last Friday. We had more than 100 Rotarians and friends and spouses, and it was really a great event. I think it's the best ever. I heard nothing but good things, and even my partner said it was great, and she can be critical from time to time. But anyway, it was a really good party, and next year I hope you will all come out. It's just a fun event. Every year around this time, our nominating committee presents a slate of candidates for the upcoming leadership of this club. In front of you somewhere, there is it's probably in front of you, but in front of me too, is a ballot. And that lists the slate that has been presented to us. First is Cindy Binkley, has been nominated for vice president, which will lead to the president's job in 2020 and to 2022. A great job, by the way. Additionally, for director nominees, we have Scott Henshaw, Pat Sheehan, and Kendra Smith. Are those four people in the room? I don't know. I see Pat back there. I can't see very well from up here. Anyway, today is your opportunity to have your voice heard and to make the X in the appropriate place. And I have to tell you that you can still do a write-in if you want. It's a little challenging. If you haven't participated in a write-in campaign orchestrating a signature petition, it's possible, but it's going to have to be done by 1:15 this afternoon. And if you could get your votes in, I would appreciate it. Cindy Kerr, are you in the room? Okay, Cindy, are you willing to be the counter? You're up for it. And Sharon Skilleter, where are you? You're willing to be the counter? Okay, so we got two people taking care of that. I can't wait to hear the results. And now I'm going to invite Kathy Michalogic to the podium and give us the presentation today. Make me want to empty my wallet. Make me want to.
Okay. All right. Last minute corrections. I'd like to thank all of you for attending what, as it turns out, to be our 67th annual Foundation Day. And this is the day that we get to take the opportunity to spotlight the foundation and the good work that we've done due to this foundation, made possible by the generous donations of Rotarians. Right, at this point, I would like all the foundation trustees to stand and be recognized. Past President Tom Backoff. I'll name all of the trustees. Past President Tom Backoff, Louise Jackson, Judy Love, Mary Mancini, Gary Murphy, past District Governor and past President Chuck Stocking, 2018 and 19 Vice Chairman, past President Eric Fankhauser, and Secretary Treasurer Brian Kennedy. Thank you all for your commitment to the foundation this year. I would be remiss if I didn't also welcome Sharon Skilleter as our new trustee for the year 2019 and 2020. Sharon? All right. As you all recall, we rolled out the 1912 fellowship for as a new giving level on September 30th, 2019, with founding members, past President Dick Anderson, Walt Churchill, and Clint Mock. The 1912 Fellow is a giving level of $1,000 paid in one or two installments during a calendar year. All dollars go directly to our endowment and are not calculated as part of our annual grant donations. So now I'd like to name all of the current 1912 Fellows. And as I call your name, please come to the front and remain at the front until we're finished presenting your pin and your plaque. Okay, the founding members, past President Dick Anderson, past President Walt Churchill, and past President Clint Mock, past District Governor and past President Helen Balanis, Nick Crone, past President Eric Fankhauser, past President Stacy Hammer, Louise Jackson, Reg Jackson, Brian Kennedy, past President Sue Martin, Jeff McKisson, Gary Murphy, Doug Neckers, past President Brad Rubini, President Tim Ryan, Maria White, Katie Zrake, and additionally, just last week, Clint's 4 children all became 1912 Fellows. Jeffrey Mock, John Mock, Elizabeth Harris, and Carolyn Walsh. Next, I'd like to recognize the Legacy League members. The Legacy League members have designated a planned gift to the Toledo Rotary Club Foundation. And please stand when I call your name. Past President Tom Backoff, Brent Kuzno, Edwin and Audrey Durvaj, past President Sharon Skilleter and Tom Skilleter, Kathy Tate, Tom Klein, past President Brad Rubini and Julie Rubini, past District Governor and past President Chuck Stocking and Carol Stocking, and past President Dick Wolf. Thank you all. Helen Balanis. How did I miss your name? I'd also like to acknowledge and thank this year's annual campaign chairman, Steve Miller and Greg Steenrod. You all received a letter from Steve and Greg a couple of weeks ago inviting you to donate to our foundation. Today's information are the results of your donations. In Greg and Steve's challenge, we were at 50% when they made their announcement on the 25th of November. And our goal is to get to 80% by February 3rd of 2020. If you make that goal, you're entered to win 4 tickets to a blockbuster event at the Huntington Center and a day of fly fishing with Greg Steenrod at Sunnybrook Trout Club. So let's get our donations up to 80% by February, and somebody will be a lucky winner. Now I'd like to introduce Brian Kennedy for the financials.
Thank you, Kathy. Each year, Rotarian Film Heresy, the owner of Allied Media, steps forward to create our Foundation Day video, showcasing 5 of our grant recipients from our last fiscal year. Phil, if you wouldn't mind, stand up for a moment. He's always done a great job. We're very thankful to have his creative talents to assist us with our Foundation Day video. Thank you. Before I ask past President Walt to roll the video for our Foundation Day, I would like to acknowledge 3 of our grant recipients that I noted were out in the on the floor. Rotarian Mike McIntyre is from Habitat for Humanity. Habitat received a $10,000 grant to fund a van that transports all of their building materials. I know Rotarian Ed Caldwell, Executive Director of Erie Shores Council, who received a $10,000 funding for the Scout Reach program for economically challenged individuals. Rotarian Tim Harrington, Executive Director of the Ability Center, who received a $6,000 grant for their assistance dog training building, which houses General along with 193 other assistance dogs. I did not see Rotarian Diane Barnt, Executive Director of the Victory Center, who received a $10,000 grant to fund the replacement of their 20-year-old database system. Please forgive me if I overlooked you, or I did not see Dan Gaynor from Open Door Ministries, who received an $8,500 funding for 3 refurbished front porches. At this time, past President Walt, if you wouldn't mind rolling the video for our Foundation Day.
You're a Rotarian, so you know all about our Monday meetings and the interesting speakers. Maybe you volunteered for something, maybe you bowled. Well, at one of the meetings, you've probably seen another Rotarian present a nice big ceremonial check to a community organization. But do you know where that money actually comes from?
Dues are just dues that covers the expense to maintain the club. The foundation is what we use to support the community for the grant requests. So that's where all of the grants, all the money for the grants come from. And the way that we have a foundation, the very basis of that foundation is through the donations from Rotarians.
Since our founding in 1912, Rotary Club of Toledo has been a leading contributor to worthy causes in Northwest Ohio, particularly children's charities. Early on, a specific fund was established for this. In the early 1950s, that fund officially became its own foundation, the Toledo Rotary Good Fellowship Foundation, which is simply known as today's Toledo Rotary Foundation. It's the keeper of our charitable assets. Your contributions to the foundation keep it alive and growing. This is where the money on all those checks came from. And in our last Rotary year, all those checks added up to nearly $207,000.
It's really important that Rotarians go to the meetings each week and be an active part of Rotary, but it's the Rotary Foundation that has allowed these types of grants to exist and to be able to support local organizations like the Victory Center.
Diane Barnt is the executive director of the Victory Center.
It's a nonprofit wellness center for cancer patients. So we serve men, women, children, all types of cancer, and we do free services. So it could be anything from yoga classes to support groups. We have counseling. We have one-on-one therapies while you're going through treatment. So things like oncology massage, Reiki, reflexology, facials, energy tune-ups, energy work, that sort of thing.
Your foundation awarded them $9,800 for a comprehensive donor and patient database that will serve their Toledo and Perrysburg locations.
It may not be a real sexy kind of thing, but it's so instrumental in what we do day to day. It's saved us a lot of time and hassle and made us more efficient and more productive. And that means we get to help more cancer patients.
Since the early 80s and helping men that were homeless as a result of substance abuse here at the Open Door, there's always been a philosophy of treating that individual with dignity and respect.
Open Door Ministries is a sober living home for men seeking recovery from substance use disorder and addiction.
The mission of the organization is to provide supportive, sober living where men can recover through the spirituality of the 12 steps and have the opportunity to leave here and live a productive, self-supporting life out in the community.
Your $8,500 in funding built new porches on the ministry's 3 houses. Up to 80 men per year will live in one of these homes and move on.
Part of our philosophy is to offer a safe, supportive home in which they can recover. And so the foundation has helped us. We're grateful. When you look at the before and after pictures, you'll see guys helping tear things out and helping, carry, supplies or helping even in setting blocks up and mortaring and things like that. And it gives them that sense of, hey, that was my project. When a guy goes through the program successfully and comes back, and shares with the men that I used to live here, you can do this too. And by the way, I was here when we built that porch. It's pretty cool.
The work behind these walls is really going to impact people with disabilities for generations in Northwest Ohio. Putting together Agility Angels and the Ability Center's Assistance Dog program is really going to be able to maximize the benefit for children and adults with disabilities and really kind of capture what the real needs of the community are.
You see them on the street, in restaurants, even grocery stores. Assistance dogs are everywhere, and your $5,000 support has helped bring 2 great training organizations under one roof.
The Ability Center trains and places service and therapy dogs. The service dogs are trained with people that have mobility disabilities. So picking up drop items, opening up doors, helping to put on clothing, those physical tasks that they need help with. And then the therapy dogs are placed with children and adults with developmental disabilities. They offer guidance, they offer support, they offer companionship. And that's really a piece of what Agility Angels does. Agility Angels really focuses on socialization of the dog as well as the person. They gain confidence through running their dog through agility. And it's also physical exercise for the participants as well.
The new partnership is housed in a new unified location, replacing 2 separate outdated facilities.
Agility Angels now has a permanent location, and the Ability Center's Assistance Dog program, through our therapy dog work, those kids and young adults are able to run agility through the Agility Angels program. So it's really a best of both worlds situation, and all of the consumers will be able to benefit from multiple facets of the programming.
What Scout Reach aims to do is take a non-traditional Boy Scouting model to underserved youth within our community. Center City kids get the opportunities they don't usually get with supervised individuals and activities to help them move forward in life, teaching them character building skills.
Your foundation awarded $10,000 to Boy Scouts of America Erie Shores Council for materials and facilitators to bring scouting to underserved areas of Toledo.
I think Scout Reach is very beneficial because in today's society, technology kind of rules over. So it gives these kids an outlet to really express themselves in a free way with good leadership, with people really guiding them.
This program has not only served its intended target, but its facilitators as well.
When I first came to college last year, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And now working with community outreach and kids, I really see that teaching might be something I want to do because I've never thought of working with youth until coming here. So I like it. It's a passion of mine. I really discovered it through Scout Reach. So I'm excited.
That $10,000 grant is specifically going towards the scouts and providing them, the resources that they need. Like us as the staff, it's providing us resources and the ability to bring that engaged programming to them. The experience I get out of it is really amazing. The Rotary Club gives us a really awesome support system for us to give the programming to the students and make them, see something else or like have a different experience they've never had before. So it's really, really special to see that. Yeah.
All this and so much more brought to you by you.
This is where the money comes from. It's through your support of the Toledo Rotary Foundation. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where your donations count.
Bill, thank you for that great video. In the 2018-2019 fiscal year, the foundation awarded 31 separate organizations grants totaling $207,000. These grants are featured in our annual report, which should be at your table. It's on pages 2 through 6, where we have it detailed out by grant organization, as well as which committee recommended that grant. At this time, Walt, if you wouldn't mind pulling up page 9, I'll give a brief summary of our financial report. So as you can see here, we have 2 columns of data. We tried to expand it slightly from last year. The left column, that is from the reviewed financials prepared by Clifton Larson Allen, and it provides the statement of changes for the Toledo Rotary Community Foundation. The right-hand column, you will see this is the activity in the funds held by the Greater Toledo Community Foundation. Other than at the bottom, it'll note we always have a slight timing difference. So when you see the grant expenses or donations to the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, there's always a slight timing differential between one column to the next on grants provided, as well as inside of the Greater Toledo Community Foundation. There are a few Rotarians who have their own funds that transfer money directly into the donor advised funds at Greater Toledo Community Foundation. Other than that, let's see. That part. Walt, if you wouldn't mind going to page 10. So on page 10, we have it detailed out as to, there we are, the assets, liabilities, and net assets for the Toledo Rotary Club Foundation, as well as we have at the bottom, we have the ending balance as of June 30, 2018 in each of the 4 funds held by the Greater Toledo Community Foundation. With that brief summary, I would say that I'd like to go on to say that Toledo Rotary Community Foundation was created in 1952 to fulfill the philanthropic goals of the Rotary Club of Toledo. Our foundation has grown in those years, which enables us to contribute an average of $200,000 per year to charitable causes in the Toledo area. 2 years ago, the foundation formed a partnership with the Greater Toledo Community Foundation to strengthen our abilities to carry out the goals of the club's strategic plan. Our partnership allows the foundation to continue the foundation advisory, or FAC, process, a cornerstone of the club's history, which allows every member of the club to participate in our foundation service committees. Each of these committees performs a due diligence to recommend grants that benefit organizations here in our community and globally. Partnering with the Greater Toledo Community Foundation also assures Rotarians that we are following our policies and federal regulations, and it includes a plan to ensure that our funds are held in perpetuity. At this time, I'd like to invite Chair Kathy Mikulajic up to the podium to continue our presentation. Thank you.
They make me do this, stand on a box. Thank you, Brian, and thank you for reviewing our partnership with the Greater Toledo Community Foundation and the evolution that's taken our foundation through. I'd also like to remind everyone that about the annual campaign, and that our annual campaign chairs, Steve Miller and Greg Steenrod, have presented us with a challenge by February of 2020 to be at an 80% giving level. And I also wanted to let everyone know, in case I didn't mention it in the beginning, that in the new 1912 Fellow giving level, we have actually 22 members, and that's pretty amazing since September. I'm so proud of the fact that our Rotarians have stepped up and given us this level of membership in that particular giving level. At this point, I'd like to ask if there are any questions for either me or Brian regarding financials. Yes, Jim?
I'd like to say that it was a joy to give it. And all that we've accumulated during life is just stuff. So think of that when you look at our foundation. That what it benefits all the people in this community is through your giving. It counts. And it truly is a joy.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. And at this point, Walt, if you could begin the video.
Jillian asked me why I'd been a Rotarian for 60 years and why I joined Rotary in the first place. I was 24, I think, or 25. I joined because my father was a Toledo Rotarian. My grandfather was a Toledo Rotarian. My father-in-law was a Toledo Rotarian. And my grandfather-in-law was a Toledo Rotarian. I didn't think there was any other life. But I mainly have stayed a Rotarian, I think, because I'm so proud of what Rotary does. What I've witnessed it to do in the 60 years I've been here. It's absolutely amazing. Just to touch on a couple points, you're going to be sorry you asked me up here, but so I always tell stories. But I remember Toledo Rotary's 75th anniversary happened to coincide with the year that Rotary International announced their campaign for Polio Plus for their upcoming 100th anniversary. And everyone was assigned a quota, every club, as to what they were to kick in to kick off Polio Plus. And our goal was $85,000, which I thought was a hell of a lot of money. But, you know, we do our best. And a group of us got together and we planned a gala dinner with speeches. Same damn speakers, they're always up there at the same time. And a symphony concert. And we invited the world's most famous violinist, Itzhak Perlman. And Itzhak Perlman just happened to be the world's most famous polio victim. And that was a night. Instead of our goal of $85,000, that night alone we raised $285,000. That's why I'm proud of Toledo Rotary. Going right along with that, most recently, many of you remember the 100th anniversary of Toledo Rotary. We did pretty good. We spent a few years, raised over $300,000. Well, we raised $450,000 and to buy a park for the Metro Parks in downtown Toledo. Metro Parks never had a park in downtown Toledo, as you all know. And once they get done with the high-level bridge, they're going to build a beautiful park with shelter, running track, fishing piers, lunch for downtown workers. Fabulous place. That was our 100th. But then I got to go back to the beginning. Some of you newer members haven't heard this story. Your older members will remember it. I have to tell you the story once again of Alva Bunker and Charles Fieldbach. In 1915, when Charles Fieldbach was president of the Toledo Rotary Club, the district nurses, by name Emma Roberts, brought to Rotary a young man she had found in an alley living behind the house of his drunken father. His mother had 12 kids, and Alva Bunker was born without any hands or feet. He spent most of his time in an alley on a skateboard he'd made with a roller skate and a piece of 1x6. He couldn't read or write. He's 14 years old. He couldn't read or write. He couldn't smile. He could barely talk. Rotary Club took on this challenge. Charles Fieldbach, in particular, took this young man up to Detroit to a hospital that could treat him and help him. And in 3 or 4 years, they outfitted him with arms and legs, taught him to read and write, taught him to smile. He never knew how to smile. And taught him to walk. And 4 years later, he walked into the Rotary Club of Toledo, Ohio, across the floor, climbed the steps up to the podium, and thanked the Rotarians of Toledo for what they had done for him. That doesn't bring a little dampness to your eye, you're not human. I can change gears now and dry my eyes because I get moved every time I tell that story. Of course, you know the Rotary book, and I call it the Rotary book. The book we all got together. It turned out it was started by Walt McGee, who wanted somebody to liven up his first couple of meetings as president to tell a couple of history stories. Are you trying to get rid of me? I'm not done yet. So we put together a book. I wanted to put a bunch of Xerox copies of my talks on paper, with a staple in a corner, but Jeff Roberts would have none of it. We had a committee. We decided to put together a coffee table book, an expensive coffee table book, and we printed 10,000 copies. And I said, who the hell's going to ever buy one except our wives? But we've sold most of them. And we've raised somewhere in the neighborhood, I'm told, of $150,000 for the foundation through the profits from that book. And it was thanks to Walt McGee and his wife, Julia, who did enormous amounts of work. And Debbie Monaghan, whose company with Steve put together the book and promoted it and put it in order. And of course, Jeff Roberts, who would have nothing but to make it a big, fancy book. And that book created a lifetime job for me in my senior years. I've given, believe it or not, over 600 talks on those history stories in that book. And I have sold Toledo Rotary in every one of them so that more and more people know what we do here. George Bernard Shaw, you remember, he said, where's Rotary going? And he answered his own question. He said, they're going to lunch. If you're a Rotarian that shows up when it's convenient for meetings, don't join committees, don't get active, don't participate in the Good Fellowship Foundation. That's what they used to call it. We call it the Rotary Foundation now. Maybe you're in the wrong place. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. But wear this pin. I'm about to get a new one. I've got several. Never go out without the pin. I don't care whether you're in Toledo or Perrysburg or Maumee or Seattle or Boston or London or Paris. When people see you with that pin on, they immediately make a judgment that you're a special person. You're a person that treats your community with service, that you're a leader in your profession or your business. It's an assumption that people make, and you will make more friends around the world and locally by wearing that pin. And also it'll get you out of a jam once in a while. So that's why I'm still in Rotary after 60 years, and I'm proud of it. I'm glad the good Lord kept me alive this long. But Kathy, where are you? Or Jim, see if you've got a 70-year plan, because I plan to get the next one. Thank you. Thank you, dear. Is that all right? I know it's long, but...
That's a great film. I've seen that before, and I don't think I ever paid so much attention to it. But as I'm just looking at it, and I'm looking out at this club, and in the 1970s, we raised $285,000. And because I get involved and have lots of conversations with a lot of people that are heavily involved with Polio Plus, that $285,000 was the beginning of Rotary's goal to eradicate the disease of polio. I could tell you that we used to have about 365 cases, 1,000 cases a day. We're down to a little bit over 100 for the whole world this year. Without that money being raised, I am sure that Rotary International and all of the other clubs around the world said, how are we ever going to do that? And Toledo Rotary showed them how. We went out and we raised $285,000. Because I stay with the numbers a little bit, just doing a quick and dirty analysis at, let's call it 1,000 cases a day, and let's call it over 4 decades. And by my reckoning, quick and dirty, give or take 10,000 cases, we begin a journey that has eliminated or stopped or kept 1,300,000 people from ever getting polio. That's phenomenal. And it starts in many ways with Rotary International, of course, and lots of other Rotarians as partners. But it's this club that really started it all off in many ways at $285,000. That's where your money goes. If you want to be a Rotarian and you want to make the world better, this club, this foundation makes the world a little bit better. You know, if you're interested in safety or a cleaner environment or a better educated population here in Toledo, then consider helping out with and doing your part with the Toledo Rotary Foundation. I didn't know I was 67 years old. That's a long time. I was just a little kid when it started, but what an impact we've had. So I implore you, as we enter the season of giving, consider the Toledo Rotary Foundation. I'm told I'm supposed to remind you guys to vote. I've already done it, so if you could do that and hand it in at the end of the meeting. And we're going to have our annual holiday party next week. It's always popular. It's a lot of fun. Bring your spouses, bring your friends. It's going to be a good time, and come early because it's going to be a busy meeting. And Chuck, can you give us a chuckle?
Professor, can you get a shot of General? The first one's for the dog. Probably not. Oh, there he is. Okay. They tell me that dogs, everybody knows dogs don't laugh. They don't smile, but when they wag their tail now, he's anticipating this. What's round, General, what's round and green and chases sheep? A melancholy. See, look at the wag. They see what's going on there. Look at that. All right. What? It's a 5-minute walk from my house to the pub. It's a 36-minute walk from the pub to my house. The difference is staggering. And finally, there are three kinds of, this is from Will Rogers. There are three kinds of men. The one that learns by reading, the few who learn by observation, the rest of them have to pee on the electric fence for themselves.
Thank you, Chuck. I have to report that I'm pretty sure that Kathy just called me a dork. That one. And she reminded me that it is not the holiday party, it's the symphony. So with that, am I still a dork? Okay, I'm better now. And with that, we are adjourned.